As Michelita let us know how you say that in France, in Francais, the new year. Happy 2022, everybody. Welcome to the first Burn It Down with Kim Brown of the new year. It is the Tuesday edition. Of course, you all know Burn It Down with Kim Brown is a safe space where we set oppression ablaze because now another trip around the sun means that we have even less time to be putting up with all this oppression bullshit. And we are dealing with a ton of oppression, like all the 2021 oppression just carried right on over into 2022. Hey, before I even get started, let me say real quick, what's up to all my bruvs in the building? What's up, Chuck Diesel? What's up, Kev Z247? What's going on, good brother Latif? What's up, Dave G in the house? My brother Stoner Loner. Good Damien, good sir. Today, how you doing, Damien? I want to say what's up to everybody. And of course, all my sisters is in the building. Who is up in here? Valley Girls, Nat M, Nat A is up in here. So is Northern Witch. Northern Witch made the most lovely chat comments. She said that she's so happy that she found us last year. Northern Witch, we are happy that you found us too. Who else is up in here? Anna Hart, of course, my good darling. Franny Francais is up in here. Jonathan G. Johnny G, Dr. Rizzo, he's up in here. Ear Hustler. Hey, Ear Hustler, come on through, baby. Listen. Oh, and of course, my good darling, Afraid Not. Afraid Not. I keep your shit close, baby. I keep your shit close because I appreciate the love, man. I appreciate the love from the Fire Fam. You all have been rocking with us for a year and some change now. You all have been amazingly loyal. You all have supported and stepped up, and I just have to thank y'all every single show because I really appreciate it, and I didn't think that this could ever be. But here we are, and here you are here with us today. All right, guys, so we've got a great show in store for you today. Ursula Baptiste, hello, my sis. Courtney the Stallion is up in here. Courtney, girl, I went back and watched the New Year's Eve show, and really, I was about to boohoo cry when we got to Courtney's part, because Courtney just said, oh, such, Courtney, I love you so much. So, anyway, if you have not had a chance to watch our New Year's Eve special, go back and do that, because it was a fun time had by all. As you see, it was a 2-hour program, so you know we got it in, right? We rocked it out for 2 whole hours. It was a call-in show, and listen, that feature could be available to you if you decide to sign up to become a patron of the program. You could do so very easily at patreon.com/BIDWKB. Rose K. Thank you to Rose K. Rose K re-upped as a boss lady over on Patreon. So thank you so much, Rose K, for your very generous patronage. And listen, and they're still doing 15% off annual memberships. So if you are on a budget, as we recuperate from the holiday season, as I know a lot of people are, listen, you can support us for an entire year for the low price of $20.40 at the $2 a month tier. Lots of people have done that, and that is perfectly good with us. We appreciate it. Anything that you give to us, we are not fucking greedy bitches, nor are we ungrateful. So we would appreciate that. And don't ask me why. Why every time I go on camera, then my eyes start to water. It's a little frustrating. And I took all my tissues out the fire pit because I'm a genius. But anywho, I digress. I want to welcome everybody to the program. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I'm so happy to see y'all's very specific smiling faces up in the place. Shirley, I see you. Thank you so much, darling. I love you. I love you. So coming up on today's show, guys, we got a lot of things to get to. So, okay. And I promise you, the next show, I am not going to talk about COVID. I fucking promise. But the reason why COVID is on the agenda today is because the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, for those who are not familiar, when you hear the acronym DMV, it does not mean Department of Motor Vehicles, although it does mean Department of Motor Vehicles. But the other meaning of DMV is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area has become one of the COVID hotspots in the country. And as you all know, I have been doing the best that I can to shelter in place away from COVID. And now COVID is fucking everywhere. Can't escape the COVID. COVID is right outside your door. To the extent that Maryland Governor Larry Hogan today announced a state of emergency in the state of Maryland, that hospitalizations in the state of Maryland are up 500%, which is quite a significant amount, as are COVID infections. But here's the kicker, y'all. For reasons, a lot of Maryland school districts are reluctant to go back to virtual learning, okay? And one of those school districts happens to be Baltimore City. Now, Baltimore City, as you all know, has its share of problems, a lot of which stems from bullshit leadership coming from the top down. Baltimore has not managed to put a good crew of a mayor plus a city council together to be effective and beneficial for the city. No, I don't think that's happened. I don't know about ever, but it definitely has not happened in my lifetime. So the kicker is that Baltimore City schools are like, yeah, the schools are perfectly safe for the kids to come back to school in person. Nigga, what? Do you know what the positivity infection rate is? Do you know how dilapidated a lot of these city schools are? Do you understand that even the CDC guidelines, whatever the fuck that's worth these days, the CDC guidelines for safe in-person learning, those standards are not being met in Baltimore City schools. So the fact that they're trying to send the kids back to school is further proof that, number one, they don't give a fuck about the kids. Number two, they don't give a fuck about disabled or immunocompromised people who may be sharing the same household as these children and who themselves could be at risk for COVID. No, it is a matter of making sure that the state provided childcare under the guise of public education is there to make sure that children are attended to as the workers are forced to return back amid an Omicron surge. And by the way, ain't no help coming, ain't no eviction protections coming, ain't no stimulus coming, ain't none of that shit coming. Hazard pay, what's that? That's some old shit. That's 2020 shit. What you talking about? We ain't giving y'all none of that. So anyway, I'm going to get into that a little bit later on the program, as I'm going to also get into the fact that that's one state fail. Let's put it that way. The national state, the federal state has failed in its failure to stem the tide of these COVID infections. Didn't we just hit a record? Like a dumb record though. Didn't we? Was it 500,000 infections in one day? It was some outlandish statistic that when you heard it, you had to be like, did I hear that right? Yes. Daily infections in the United States, we are setting records here. It is horrible, horrible, horrible. Hospitals are full. The state is failing to properly act and to keep the public safe. But another way that the state fails generally, not only on the national level, but even at the local level. You guys, we had a snowstorm here in DC 2 days ago. Fucking yesterday. Yes, yesterday. It was snowing. Snowed a lot. And this area can easily be crippled by a small amount of snow, okay? But we got about a range between like 6 to 7 inches to close to 13 or 14 inches in some places. And as you guys may have seen, it made national news that a 50-mile stretch of the main East Coast thoroughfare, I-95, was closed because of ice and multiple jackknife tractor trailers. I can understand, on one hand, nature just being a beast, right? Some shit you can plan for, some shit you can't plan for. But what you can plan for is the after response and the emergency response. And folks, there are still people sitting in their cars right now on 95. The highway still remains shut down. There are a lot of people who ran out of gas while idling for literally dozens of hours without any help, without any assistance. People were having medical emergencies. People were in the car with their children, with their elderly relatives, with their pets. Pardon my language, people taking shits on the side of 95. Like it was serious. And it was an abysmal response by the Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, who is on the way out. And I'm sure Ralph Northam was blown to shit. He had to deal with this in his final days. But Ralph Northam, Democrat, did a terrible job. And I'm going to outline the ways in which the Democratic leadership failed the motorists and is still failing the motorists. And why, number one, we need to be seriously considering withholding our taxes because these niggas is not giving us a good return on investment, right? Anyway, we're going to get into that in just a bit. But I wanted to actually begin the show with some good news. And I call it good, not great news regarding climate policy, because it is good because it's a something, but it's not great because at this point of the climate disaster, baby, I don't really know what can be done unless everybody, and I don't mean everybody as in individuals, us as both workers and consumers, even though I do think consumers have some responsibility to play here. But largely, I mean, the biggest polluters we know in the world are military, the U.S. military specifically, and corporations, namely a lot of U.S.-based corporations, right? Biggest polluters on earth. But it's imperative that the state take some action to help, to do what we can, even in small ways, to try to mitigate the effects of climate change and pollution and all that shit, right? Because y'all got kids and grandkids. We got to get this shit way better, way better. Or that shit's going to look like, what was that movie? 2012, the John Cusack movie. I saw that shit one time. I said, I don't think I ever want to see this movie ever again in my life because some aspects of it did ring hit a little bit too close to home. But I want us to take a look, please, if we could, today. This is going to be A1. So the state of California passed or enacted this January 1st, the beginning of the year, a series of bills that are designed to help address climate change. Now, we know as progressives, especially if you are, or progressive, leftist, socialist, whatever, if you pay attention to environmental news especially, you know that California has a very demonstrated habit of passing policies that look and sound amazing when it comes to addressing either pollution or trash or climate change or any of that shit, right? The shit usually sounds good, but when you open up the hood, or when you look a year or two down the road after these laws have been enacted and you see how they are actually being implemented or not implemented, the California be looking a little funny in the light. But this is interesting. I want you guys to check this out. This is a package from CBS 8 in San Diego. And like I said, they passed a slew of different things, but a slew of different laws went into effect on the first of the year. But the thing I want you guys to be listening out for has to do with food waste, okay? Yes, I know this is exciting, sexy shit. I know you guys are just like, yes, Kim, talk to us about food waste. Hey, this is important, y'all. This is important. I would not be bringing this to you if I did not feel it was important, okay? So let's take a look at this package from CBS San Diego about the new laws that have gone into effect in California.
Among the noteworthy laws are two that will directly affect food distributors in the state. After voters concerned with animal welfare passed Proposition 12 in 2018, meat manufacturers must now give cows, pigs, chickens, and other animals raised for livestock more room in their pens. While the law is supposed to come into effect today, most producers haven't made the changes and are suing the state over the new rules. The state is also going to war with food waste and its effect on climate change. Senate Bill 1383 will take aim at the large amounts of organic material sitting in landfills, which produce huge amounts of methane gas. Californians will now have to sort their food scraps, lawn trimmings, and other organic waste into separate compost bins. Right now, California landfills contain 23 million tons of organic material. The state is hoping to cut that by 75% by 2025.
Pallets and pallets of, oranges and plums and bananas and boxes of cereal that are all good food that would, if Feed and didn't come and rescue, it would be in the landfill.
The bill also targets large food distributors like grocery stores that must now donate edible food that would otherwise be thrown away to food banks or other organizations. Allison Glatter of Feeding San Diego says the law is a win-win for the planet and those who face hunger in California.
Food waste is the third biggest contributor to the climate change. It's amazing because we will just hopefully continue to see an increase in food donations, which then in turn we can just feed more people. There's enough food out there to feed everyone. And
less food thrown away, smaller landfills, and fewer people going hungry, cutting down on food waste is definitely one of California's New Year's resolutions.
Oh my gosh, could y'all hear all the socialism just oozing from that package? And in a good way, though. The good sis at the end says, you know what, there's enough food to go around. Yes, there is, especially in a wealthy country like this that throws away up to 30% of our total food. Now, the reason I wanted to bring you guys this story is because, in my opinion, there's no reason why this should not be a federal type of policy. The fact that this is, let me back up. Let's assume, by the way, that this is executed perfectly and at the height of efficiency in California, and it works, right? It needs to be implemented nationwide. There is so much food that gets thrown away in the U.S., and I'm sure in a lot of Western nations, but I feel as though the U.S. is probably particularly egregious. And raise your hand if you live in a sizable city, right? Y'all, if I could tell you guys the amount of food perfectly good edible food that gets thrown away in Washington, D.C. by all the restaurants who, by and large, a lot of them refuse to redistribute this food out to the many houseless people that occupy the streets of the nation's capital. And I think that making it a law, I do believe that businesses should be compelled to do this because at the end of the day, it's a social good. And for a very long time, there was a persistent yet untrue rumor, and anyone who's ever worked at a grocery store will be able to co-sign me on this. But for a long time, and I think even probably in some places, grocery stores will still say that they are not allowed to give close to expired food or food that they are not going to sell. And I don't talk about food that's going bad. I'm talking about food that is perfectly fine, but the shit might be bruised or wrinkled or whatever not perfect 10 looking food looks like, right? Grocery stores would lie and say that they were prohibited from giving out that food because what if people got sick? What? Okay, well, what if you sold it and somebody got sick? Then what? The bottom line is that when we hoard and then waste shit like food, we are really failing to address the issue. And I like the fact that this package specifically mentions the amount of methane gases that are caused by food, organic food. And we're clear about organic food, right, y'all? Shit that can be, that will eventually break down on its own. But when it's all piled in by the tons upon each other in these landfills, it breaks down in such large quantities, it releases a lot of methane gas. And methane gas is something that I really want us to pay more attention to, because I don't think that the scourge of methane gas got the same level of PR blitz that CO2 emissions gets. You know what I mean? Like, methane is way worse for the atmosphere, and it's way more of a greenhouse gas. It helps to trap the heat into the planet way more than carbon, right? And the fact that there is not a federal policy to address this. Now, I got an email from one of these environmental groups, and which one it is right now is leaving my mind, but the person who sent the email, look at me, I'm a crack reporter here on the scene, y'all, and I got all my facts together. Anyway, the email from the environmental group that I cannot recall, and the person who was the author of the email, who I also cannot recall, apparently testified in front of Congress, or having to do at the hearing regarding the EPA about a methane rule that Congress is considering. And this person went on about how in Colorado, the level of fracking is such that people are being literally poisoned in their homes from the amount of gas and seepage that comes out. And listen, at this point of where we are in the climate catastrophe game in the year 2022, when the United States and pretty much the rest of the Western world has failed to live up to a lot of its climate promises and obligations made decades ago, it's important that we still continue to make sure that Democrats, and especially the Biden administration, like, we have to call them out on their bullshit. Like, the continued approval of new pipelines, new oil projects, and failing to address issues like methane, and failing to come up with what I would call, at this point, even though it's not all that creative because a lot of these suggestions have been percolating for literal decades as well, but why isn't there national composting? Why isn't there national mandates of separation of trash, right? Even recycling is not something that's nationalized. It's still very much on a state by state, municipality by municipality basis. Like, there is no comprehensive, all hands on deck policies coming from Democrats or Republicans, elected officials, what have you, to make this climate thing, to try to stem the tide of how bad it is eventually going to get. And that is why I hate everything. And that is why I started to watch that Don't Look Up movie on Netflix. And I said, I gotta turn this shit off because this is upsetting me just a little bit. Because then again, it's ringing a little close to home. And I didn't think it was all that outstandingly acted, by the way. But that's a whole other conversation. We'll talk about Don't Look Up on another day. But Don't Look Up is the equivalent of climate catastrophe. Like, don't look at the rising seas. Don't look at the warming planet. Don't look at the extinction level event that we're seeing amongst a lot of our biodiversity on this planet. Like, don't even look at that shit. Don't worry about that shit. You probably be dead. You probably be way dead by the time all that shit comes to pass. But you probably will not be dead, and you know who else will not be dead? Your children and your grandchildren. So you need to care about the youngins, which is why we need to be serious about climate policy. And I want us to take a look, if we could, real quick. I'm gonna stay on decent, again, good, not great climate news here. Real quick. Hit me with that A2 there, Tunde. So France, où est Michelita? Michelita, vous êtes ici? Voila! Good news. Let's give France a tiny bit of props, even though it's generally fuck France, you know, colonizers and what have you. This report from the BBC, guys. French ban on plastic packaging for fruit and vegetables begins. Now, again, I know that's so sexy. You guys are so interested in that. Like, oh, Kim, they're stopping the plastic packaging. But guys, billions, literally billions and billions of tons of plastic ends up everywhere, all over the planet, in our oceans, in our waterways, in our fish. I actually don't even, I be sometimes passing on fish because I'm like, yes, the fish have consumed the plastics. The fish are eating the plankton, and the plastic's all in the plankton, and then I eat the fish, and then the plastic is in me because I ate the fish. But anyway, this is what France is doing. So France has now placed a ban on single-use packaging on fruits and vegetables for over 30 vegetables, right? And I want to read this quote, actually, because I found it to be a little funny. Because I thought it was funny. Where is it? In a statement, here we go. In a statement announcing the new law, the environmental ministry said that France uses a, quote, outrageous amount, end quote, of single-use plastics, and that the new ban, quote, aims at cutting back the use of throwaway plastics and to boost its substitution by other materials or reusable or recyclable packaging. Now, guys, if France thinks that they use an outrageous amount of single-use plastic packaging, how much single-use plastic packaging do you think America uses? I assure you, it is exponentially way more than France uses. And I believe the environmental ministry nigga when he say that France uses an exorbitant amount, nigga. What the fuck the U.S. is doing? The U.S. is single-handedly polluting this whole fucking planet. And damn it, the U.S. has managed to do this shit in less than 200 years. And I need the aliens to come the fuck on, man. I'm about to go outside with my flashlight. What's up, bro? Whoa, shit, what you say, Mark S? Mark S says, Kim Lyon, I bet she be wearing them be more what? Them be, be more what? Oh, that is not me. No, I do not do that. That is not I. Listen, first of all, it's not time for crabs, Mark S. And by the way, that's a whole nother conversation I would like us to have because I know there's a lot of people who live near oceans, right? We need to have a talk about seafood sustainability and the collapse of the fisheries, which is inevitably going to happen. By the way, Mark S., it was a terrible year for crabs in the DMV, in the state of Maryland especially. Maryland had a very bad year for crabs. A lot of the crabs that we got this summer were actually flown in from Texas and Louisiana. They had delicious crabs this summer, but Maryland crabs did not do well this summer. So no, I do not support the eating of crab cakes when it's not crab season. Okay, we gotta be thinking, y'all. I know, first of all, I know everybody in here ain't black, but black people, I'm talking to you real quick. I know y'all love shrimp. You cannot have shrimp all the time. We gotta let the shrimpies recover. But again, capitalism is going to take every single piece of seafood out the ocean. Sustainability be damned, right? So that is where it is incumbent upon us as consumers to be like, I don't know if we gonna fuck with this shit because this shit ain't in season anyway. I'm all over the place. My bad, y'all. Hold on. Let me go back down to the chat. Let me move along, y'all, real quick. How many people we got in here joining us at this particular moment in time? Oh, we got a nice crowd. All right, crowd, come on in here. Come on. We social distancing. Make a way. We got plenty of seats down front, some in the back too. Do me a favor, guys. Shout out to everyone that's watching us on Twitch at BIDWKB. Follow us places around the internet if you don't mind. BIDWKB. That is us on Instagram. That is us on Facebook. Also us on Twitch. And we are really close to getting to 1,800 followers on Twitter. So at Burn It Down KB on Twitter, if you don't mind giving us a follow there, I would certainly appreciate it. And let me congratulate all of us because finally, we have crossed the 2,400 subscriber mark, and I am quite excited. The channel also finally passed 100,000 views. So y'all, we're moving on up now, just keep on pushing. Yes, that is us. We are Curtis Mayfield up in here right now. We are moving on up. So thank you all so much for all your continued support, for tuning in, for liking, for subscribing, for sharing, and just repping for the BIDWKB Fire Fam crew. That's how we do. That's how we do. Yeah. Okay, but moving on to the next story, everybody. Yeah, come on through, Patty P. Give it up that whoop whoop. One LA, W Spirit, come on in, whoop whoop. Mark S, Tyler Hacknick, whoop whoop, whoop whoop. I'm sorry, I get so excited. And I appreciate y'all's enthusiasm also, because I'm so happy. Anyway. Ooh. All right, next story, guys. Let me talk about how the state has failed. And let me tell you, not only how has the state failed, generally, failing us on climate change, failing us on public health, failing us on healthcare, failing us on all kinds of things, on infrastructure and all kinds of shit, looking out for the kids, failing us on this COVID virus. The Omicron surge is, oh man, NBC News last night, y'all, showed the dumbest graphic, okay? They showed a map of the United States and they had the little color-coded, legend next to it with the levels, color-coded, levels of infection of Omicron. And the whole country was red. Every single state, Hawaii and Alaska too. I said, nigga, why did y'all even put the little legend up there? Just, I guess, underscore the seriousness of the amount of infections that we're seeing here in the U.S. But that's not even what the fuck I'm talking about. That's the failure. That's a overarching failure. But specifically on a state level, how the state really proves itself to be incapable or incompetent or unwilling or just stymied by its own stupidity and bureaucracy. I'm not really sure. But yesterday, here in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, look at my headline says, y'all, public safety is a scam. Actually, that's the song I meant to play on the pre-show today. I meant to play 911 as a joke because that shit applied. All the thousands of motorists stranded on I-95 through Northern Virginia would definitely get out of their cars and start doing the Flavor Flav. Get up, get down. 911 is joke in your town. Yes, 911 is a fucking joke, y'all. Yesterday, Laurie, let me preface it. Let me set you up. So real quick. The DC area does not usually fare well when it comes to decent amounts of snow. I won't even say large amounts of snow because it is well known that as little as 2 to 4 inches can literally paralyze this area, right? They call it for schools to be closed. Got closed school all week. It's 3 inches of snow on the ground. Like DC, Maryland, Virginia, this region does not do snow very well. So today is Tuesday. I guess that would be Sunday into Monday. Okay. They were calling for snow, but not a lot of people paid attention to it. Just because it was like, what? Snow? What, nigga? We just had, it was 60 degrees. It was 64 degrees the day before it snowed. Okay? Climate change. coming to kill us all. 64 degrees before the day it began to snow. And then it started to snow. And then it kept snowing. All told, DC received, I believe, 6.9 inches of snow. Points further south in southern Maryland, there is a southern Maryland, by the way, St. Mary's County, Calvert County, Charles County, they got really good amounts of snow too, 8-9 inches and up. Northern Virginia got hammered. Stafford County, Prince William County, them niggas got like 12, 13, 14 inches, okay? And I assure you they were not expecting it, okay? Also, there were a lot of power outages in the areas in which heavy snowfall came. And the snow came, when I explain to y'all, again, the snow was sometimes was falling in certain places at rates of 1 to 2 inches an hour. And again, see my first point. The DC area does not do snow well at all, okay? So, around 12 noon Monday, coming through, I believe, Stafford County, I-95. Everybody here is familiar with I-95, right? Even if you don't live on the East Coast, riding, well, that's 85. Let's say, riding dirty on 85, slow, taking it easy. I don't want nothing that came in from you. That's a whole nother, that's another highway. 95, run from New York to Florida, right? Roundabouts, okay? Major highway thoroughfare for the East Coast. So around 12 o'clock in Stafford County in Northern Virginia, 12 o'clock noon, broad fucking daylight, 6 tractor trailers jackknifed, closing both directions of I-95 northbound and southbound. Noon yesterday. When I tell you there are people still right now sitting on 95, that is exactly what happened. People sat on the highway all day yesterday and all night overnight. Temperatures here got down into the teens. It was literally below freezing last night. So think about this. Thousands of people stuck. This is a 48 mile backup, 48-mile backup where nothing is moving. And to give you guys a little bit of context of what this looked like, let me hit you with B1. It's going to be B1 there, Tunde. So this is going to be a 2-minute segment from Fox 5 DC's morning show, Good Day DC. Let me give a shout out to Steve Chenevy. I find Steve Chenevy to be a quality newsman. So shout out to Steve Chenevy out this bitch. Steve Chenevy had the story. He's talking to a motorist who called up to the station to give their firsthand accounting of what their night was like and what the many hours. People have been stranded for 12 to 24 and now longer, 36 hours now. On 95. That is very significant. 95 is very significant. But I wanted to take a look at this Fox 5 DC clip from their morning show this morning. This is Steve Chenevy talking to a stranded motorist in Northern Virginia on I-95.
We chatted earlier with a man named Justin Wilson who was stuck in that traffic. Now, Justin was southbound trying to get out of D.C., headed down south of Richmond. We talked to him last hour. I want to check back in with Justin now to see if there's been any movement. Good morning once again, Justin. How are you?
Hey, good morning. The only movement is, as you can see, is me outside the car. There's no movement. I'm actually walking in the middle of 95 southbound, just passing different vehicles. So not much movement as far as cars. We are able to get out, and you can see the cold off of my breath. It's really cold out here. So, there's just folks everywhere just stranded and not much movement on our end.
Justin, do me a favor. While I'm talking to you, flip that camera around so we can see in front of you or to the sides, and we can get a better idea as to what you're seeing, maybe from your vantage point. There we go. And just kind of explain to us what you're seeing as you're walking through and what the situation has been like for you overnight.
So right now, I'm basically just walking south from my car down, just in the middle of the lane. I think it's maybe a three lane highway, maybe 4, just right here in between tractor trailers. No movement at all. I've been in the same spot since last night. Not a movement. Here's another gentleman, a truck driver, getting out of his car. It's actually kind of chaotic. There's people out here. It's kind of concerning. Like I said earlier,
one of our
at the beginning of it, it's like.
Go ahead, Justin. Continue.
I was just saying at the beginning of everything, it was kind of, maybe a traffic jam, 3-hour wait. But now it's really, really, really concerning. And you can hear it in my voice. It's cold. I'm kind of shivering, but I'm going to remain positive.
A harrowing account of spending north of 15 hours out there stranded in your car. on I-95 after a major snowstorm. And guys, so here's the issue, okay? A lot of people's cars became disabled out there. A lot of folks ran out of gas. By the way, just an interesting little footnote, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine is also allegedly in that backup. He has called a couple of local news stations here in DC to talk about what his experience has been, right? So there's that. And then I'm coming to my critique in a second. But I want us to just get again, I think the gentleman there did a very good job of encompassing what the scenario was. But I wanted to take a look. Tunde, so here we go. Let's hit that B2. So Governor Ralph Northam, he is a Democrat. Ralph Northam's on the way out for term limits, okay? Virginia has elected a Republican, Glenn Youngkin, who has not yet taken office. So I'm sure Glenn Youngkin was like, whew, holy shit, woo, dodged a bullet there. That ain't my fucking problem. And Ralph Northam was like, ain't this about a bitch? Like, I done already put in my 2 weeks and they done gave me a shit ton of work to do. So check this out. This is what Ralph Northam tweeted at 8 o'clock this morning, 8:18 to be precise. And let me just give you a quick chronology reminder. The highway became shut down at 12 noon Monday. You understand? 12 noon Monday, 8:18 a.m. Today, this morning, Tuesday morning, Ralph Northam tweets out, an emergency message is going to all stranded drivers, connecting them to support, and the state is working with localities to open warming shelters as needed. While sunlight is expected to help the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, to clear the roads, all Virginians should continue to avoid I-95. Now, folks, what's wrong with that? Let's stay on that for a second, today. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Why is this nigga trying to open up warming stations 8 o'clock the next day after the temperatures overnight fell below freezing? Was it the time for the warming centers last night? Nigga, yes. So the responses, the replies to Ralph Northam have been interesting. Let's go through these today. B3 on deck. This is all in reply to that tweet that I just read you from Governor Ralph Northam that he sent again at 8:18 this morning. One reply reads, no message received here. VDOT stated hours ago that they are moving traffic just south of exit 110. I'm only 1.8 miles from that exit and have been sitting here for 14 hours. Not one emergency vehicle in sight. Failure! Explanation point, explanation point, explanation point. Before there, Brother Tunde, this motorist tweets to Governor Ralph Northam, with all due respect, sir, efforts to open up one lane to reroute drivers should have been done 20 hours ago. We have been urinating on the side of the roads, are hungry, livid, and disappointed in the way the state have handled this. Oh, there's a lot of stories about that too, guys, about people having to defecate literally in the middle of 95. Let's go to B5 there, Tunde. Motorists asking again, perfectly rational questions. Why has a state of emergency not been declared? My family has been stuck for going on 13 hours. 5 officers are covering a 40-mile stretch of highway. This is the result of working all night. I am so scared for my family. And B6, Tunde. And this is a video. I could actually talk over this if you got that queued up. So Twitter user Jen Travis 79 tweeted this video and said that I have not seen Virginia Department of Transportation, but a fire and rescue team are walking the highway just now. And again, this was sent this morning. Okay. So let me say this really quick. As we're dealing with worsening climate conditions where all of our storms, be them hurricanes, tornadoes, snowstorms, ice storms, will increase in intensity. They will be more severe. They will cause more damage. They will cause more death. Okay. The state needs to be able to respond to these things. So let me say this really quick. I don't fault the Virginia Department of Transportation for not getting in front of this. This was a really tricky storm in the sense that temperatures drop really, really quick. Okay. And I understand that Mother Nature is the baddest bitch walking. Okay, so if Mother Nature wants to shut down 50 miles of 95, Mother Nature's gonna do that shit when she good and goddamn well feels like it. Okay, so again, I'm giving Virginia Department of Transportation a lot of latitude here. Whom I am not giving any grace to is Ralph Northam, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and the Virginia State Police. Because, guys, if you understand that you have potentially, and I'm gonna call this a potential mass casualty event, you had literally thousands of people stuck in a confined, though spread out area where the conditions were so perilous that it could cause harm or loss of life, either from freezing to death literally in your car. Think about if your car had run out of gas and it's 17 degrees overnight. Like, what? Come on, right? We're supposed to get out and walk. A lot of people did get out and walk, by the way. For Ralph Northam to not declare a state of emergency and to not immediately deploy the National Guard, not even for the purposes of reopening the road. You can only do what you can do to reopen the road. Like, ice has to melt, right? Or they have to make and treat the roads in such a way so that whatever treatment actually sticks. My problem here is in the response, the rescue response. Why the fuck weren't there police, fire and rescue? I'm talking about last night when it mattered. Even all day, really, but last night when it really mattered. How come there was not National Guard, local fire and EMS, police? How come they weren't up there walking up and down the highway distributing water, food, provisions, right? The money is there, right? And this, please, circles back to this notion of public safety. What the fuck is public safety? Nigga, like, this is it. This is the public safety event. People are in dire need and are not able to help themselves. This is where the state is supposed to spring into action. This is where so-called public safety agencies are supposed to do their thug thing. But the problem is, and especially for my viewers living outside of the U.S., it's what I need y'all to understand. The state don't give a fuck about us. It is every man and woman and non-binary person for themselves out here in the United States. The state is not here to help you. They are not going to save you, right? They're going to tell you to take personal responsibility and make sure you keep blankets and bottles of water in your car, which, by the way, it's not terrible advice, but the reason that they give that advice to be prepared, because bitch, you better be fucking prepared, because 911 is a joke. Hey, say what? 911 is a joke. You can't trust it. We're doing all the Public Enemy titles today. You can't trust none of this shit. None of it. And let me give y'all an idea of the kind of time that Ralph Northam was on, by the way. And I know I have had some praise for Ralph Northam's administration, because, again, Governor Blackface or Governor Klan Hood, whichever one you thought he was, the nigga legalized marijuana. The nigga commuted the sentences of almost 1,000 incarcerated people. The nigga restored voting rights for felons. Like, Ralph Northam has some good policies. But at the same time, disaster response is part of your job to be an effective quality leader. And the state of Virginia is not lacking for money. They had the money to respond to this properly. They have hot lanes. Tell them, where you at, Lateef? Tell them about the hot lanes they got in DC, in fucking Virginia, where they got the tolls, right? They charge niggas $50 one way to ride I-66 to the Beltway. It's preposterous. And they got legalized gambling in Virginia. They got the sports betting on the app. Virginia got the bread. Virginia just decided to be trifling as shit. Let me look at this real quick, y'all. It's going to be B7 Tune Day. So, as I told you guys, Ralph Northam's on the way out. Republican Glenn Youngkin's on the way in. But before Ralph Northam departs office this past December, literally last month, he presented his proposed budget for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And what do y'all think Ralph Northam made a priority in his budget? Did you say police? Yes! You would be correct. The police. Today, let's take a look at this. This is a clip package, actually, from December, just last month, from WAVY TV. Let's roll it.
Hey, Deanna. Well, Governor Ralph Northam is actually calling this the largest ever dollar investment into public safety in Virginia's history. And so far, the law enforcement leaders that I've spoken to do agree with that characterization. Now, worth noting, this is just one component of Northam's last 2-year budget plan, which will present in full to the General Assembly next week. Today, a thank you from Governor Ralph Northam as law enforcement groups report growing staff shortages, increasing overtime, and lowering morale.
I know that the past couple of years have been challenging ones in our public safety agencies. The public debate over policing has been difficult.
Governor Northam saying his 2-year budget proposal will level the playing field by fixing salary disparities across public safety sectors.
In order to attract the finest people and also retain them, you have to be able to compensate them. We're living in a very competitive world right now.
The plan calls for a nearly 8% pay raise for newly sworn state troopers, 25% for new correction officers, and 20% for entry-level deputy sheriffs and regional jail officials, plus targeted raises for higher-ranking officers and sworn personnel to address salary compression issues.
It's way overdue. It's well-deserved by the men and women that wear a uniform every day to protect the citizens.
Still, Virginia Sheriff's Association President Kevin Hall fears some localities may not have the resources to match raises for positions that aren't state funded.
I'm always concerned about that.
The proposed investments come as Wayne Huggins with the Virginia State Police Association says they're trying to fill more than 300 vacancies, with another 200 eligible to retire and less applications coming in.
So that recognized that the severity of the problems and hopefully is going to go a long way towards solving them.
Now, the General Assembly and Governor-elect Glenn Youngkin will ultimately have the final say on this 2-year budget when it's fully reviewed next year. Tonight, Youngkin's team not specifically weighing in on Northam's proposals, but a spokesperson noting that Youngkin did run on fully funding law enforcement. So some good news for those public safety officials.
Thought I had sneeze. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. I thought I was going to sneeze. It went away. Okay, my bad. All right, okay. Yes, good news for those public safety officials. Thank you for that package, WAVY. All that propaganda full of that bullshit. Y'all, where the fuck was the police? Where the fuck have the police been throughout this catastrophe that has happened on I-95, one of the major thoroughfares along the East Coast, one of the biggest conduits of commerce and capital along the highway system on the East Coast of the United States? Where was the police? Where was the fucking police? And mind you, I understand that package is for next year's funding. Well, this year, 2022 onward, right? But Northam, as he said, has been long in favor of funding the police and making sure law enforcement has what they need, etc. Well, let me phrase, has what they need in air quotes, because it seems to me that they got a whole fucking lot. And how come they was not out there distributing blankets, distributing water, distributing food, distributing insulin? Jesus, I saw people tweeting that, people who were diabetics who had not had insulin in a better part of a day, that they were feeling sick. So let's be clear. The state continues to fail us everywhere, nationally and even at the local level. And guys, if we think that we are prepared, I'm talking about us as regular people out here, as workers, as residents of this country, if we think that we're prepared for the effects of climate change, we are drastically mistaken, because the people that we pay taxes to are not interested in helping us. This rugged individualism, this mantra of personal responsibility, that somehow if you get killed or you are unable to fend for yourself during a natural catastrophe of some sort, that is somehow a detriment to your character. Why weren't you prepared? Bitch, what the fuck do I pay taxes for? I don't dispute the aspect that personal responsibility has to play in it. But if the government is just determined not to help me at all, well, then they can run me back my fucking FICA, nigga, because run me back my shit. If you're not going to step up and provide the services and provide even life-saving services, or even do what's needed to make sure that people can survive. And fortunately, I've not heard of any casualties on this I-95 ice catastrophe event in Virginia. However, It just goes to show you that the millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, sometimes billions, depending on where you are, that is spent on law enforcement does not go to actually promote public safety or public health. And I understand the police do not promote public health, but my point is what happened on I-95 was a health catastrophe, potentially. And the police did nothing. And the governor did nothing, and no National Guard were sent in. Even though Northam said that the National Guard was on alert and available to come in, they have not been sent in. So as I'm monitoring this situation, 95 still remains closed. A majority of that 48-mile stretch still closed right now. They have worked to try to get people off the highways, by the way. By the way, once they were able to finally move people off of 95, people immediately had to go to the gas station because, they had been basically idling their cars for 13 plus hours. So people were out of gas. So the gas stations filled up immediately. And obviously, people are not just, traveling locally. They're going north, they're going south. So right now, motorists have been escorted off of 95. The roads are being treated by Virginia Department of Transportation, salted, sanded, etc., to hopefully reopen 95 because, again, it still remains closed. So the state continues to fail us. And I don't believe that Glenn Youngkin, if this had happened on Glenn Youngkin's watch, the governor-elect, the Republican governor-elect, I think we would have seen a very similar response because basically government is inept, incapable, and most importantly, unwilling to meet the needs of a citizenry, which is why I say, fuck them niggas, they don't get no more of our money. That's that in segment. All right, guys. We got one more leg to go here. I'm going to get through this because I know y'all notice that sometimes I hold Tunde hostage, and I know y'all said Tunde needs a union. don't y'all be giving Tunde no goddamn ideas. I'm just kidding. We would give Tunde a union, but he can't be a union of one because there's only 3 of us anyway to start. Anyway, real quick, I see we got a nice little crowd up in here. Hello, everyone who is watching us on Twitch. Thank you so much to our Northern Witch. I don't know if you're modding over there, Northern Witch, but even if you aren't, I know you have modded for us before, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much to Twitch. Follow us and like us over there. Hit us up. Our places around the internet, BIDWKB, Instagram, Facebook, at Burn It Down KB on Twitter. And if you are able and willing, of course, you can feel free to support us materially as well. Let me say what's up to Brendan W. Brendan W. Venmo'd us some bucks right before we went on the air. Thank you so much for your support, Brendan. We appreciate it. Here's how you can do it. Venmo at BIDWKB, Cash App, $BIDWKB. And patrons is really who we really want to pay. I think you get the most bang for your buck being a patron. Patreon.com/BIDWKB. You get access to the Patreon pre-show, which I do every show. Well, for whatever that's worth. And you get special access to our monthly Ask Me Anythings. In addition, you get the Zoom link when we do open up the phones and allow for people to call us in or call us up and hop on the show. So that's we've done that a couple times already, and those are lots of fun. So I think that's some of the perks of being a patron over on Patreon. You should do that, and it's 15% off annual membership. So if you want to get in on the low at the $2 a month tier for an annual membership of 15% off, that will cost you $20.40. And by the way, we are grateful. We are not ungrateful. We certainly appreciate the $20.40. And if you bossing bigger than that, well, come on, boss bigger than that then, if you're able. But if you're not, we certainly appreciate the free support as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Where we at? 109. What's up? Turn up. Let me get some of them thumbs up. What's up with them likes, everybody? Keep pushing us over that 2,400 subscriber threshold. Subscribe to the show. If you have not already subscribed, please take the time to just real quick hit subscribe to the channel, and we certainly appreciate that. Yes, Tunde.
Shout out to Obioma.
What's up, Obioma?
Said they didn't know that there was a pre-show. Yeah, absolutely. There's a pre-show. We rock it out every Tuesday and Friday. Pre-show. Kim plays a track. She usually goes off into another world and then comes back for the actual show.
It goes down. It goes down on the Patreon pre-show, guys. And by the way, go to Spotify, BIDWKB. You can check out the first playlist that we have posted under our Spotify profile. It is all the songs that I did during 2021 for all of our Patreon pre-show shows, and it's like over 5 hours of music. There's a shit ton of songs. They span genres and decades. And by the way, all of those songs in that playlist are in the order in which they were played. So that's why if you look at it, you're like, Kim, this playlist doesn't make any sense. I'm like, it does make sense if you understand that it is in chronological order, with the exception of Wu-Tang's Gravel Pit, which is the last song on the playlist. And the reason why that was the last song is because where I had it on the playlist, I had accidentally put the clean version, of which I almost pulled my hair out behind, because I hate clean versions of dirty records. Keep them dirty the way we like it, the way God intended. Yes, Lord. Anyway, patreon.com/BIDWKB and Spotify, BIDWKB. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Chuck Diesel, for whipping everybody up there in the chat.
And everybody either on Patreon or wherever you want to post it, post your favorite tracks. Post the tracks that you really do.
Yes. I'm hoping. I know we got some music heads in here. Now, I don't know if y'all auntie level music heads, because I'm a music head, okay? Yeah, I would love to know which some of your favorite songs off the playlist are, and if there are some songs that perhaps you discovered from off the playlist, and you can integrate them into your own playlist. Yes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for that. So real quick, while we shitting on the state, while we are with ease pointing out in the ways the state has largely failed us and continues to fail us and gives every indication that they will fail us more in the future. Let me talk to you about my own state here, y'all. State of Maryland, blue state Maryland. Oh, y'all, Maryland. Maryland is not as progressive as advertised, as I have let y'all know on many occasions. We have an outgoing Republican governor, but the prospects for a new governor are not all that bright either, because there's a bunch of establishment fucking asshole Democrats, excuse my language, I don't know how else to categorize them. So, I don't know what the fuck's up with Maryland, but this is, let me tell you what's up with Maryland in the immediate term, okay? Hit that C1 for me, Tunde. So this segment is about kids, and it's about schools, and it's about kids in schools through the lens of COVID and the Omicron surge that we are experiencing here in the U.S. Oh, by the way, you didn't know, the United States leads the world with not only COVID infections, but COVID deaths, and our leaders are like, what you mean don't keep the kids in school, nigga? Put them kids the fuck back in school. But anyway, hold on. Let me run down some stats to y'all. WBAL TV's Jane Miller reported this today on her Twitter account. This is from the Maryland Department of Health. Maryland, the state of Maryland, by the way, has a very high vaccination rate. The state of Maryland does. I want to say it's 80% or roundabouts. It's very high. Like, people in the state of Maryland got double vaxxed and all that shit, myself included. Here we go. State of Maryland. Maryland reports 14,494 new COVID cases, 48 additional deaths, 3,057 hospitalized. And out of those 3,057 that are hospitalized, 51 of those are children. The positivity rate in the state of Maryland is 27.44%. That is the highest rate of positivity of the pandemic. Okay. Today, Governor Larry Hogan gave a press conference where he declared a state of emergency in the state of Maryland. He announced the opening of several new pop-up testing sites throughout the state. The state of emergency declaration also, I guess, frees up resources for hospitals, which, by the way, hospitalizations are up 500%. 500% in the state of Maryland. And it's bad. It's bad. If you could pop up C2 for me, guys. Oh, wait. Real quick. Before we go into the C2, Hogan today in the press conference was asked about a mask mandate. A couple things about this. Hogan said that he is not going to institute a statewide indoor mask mandate. He says that he thinks that there's a lot of people out there who will refuse to wear masks, and there are no ways to enforce a mask mandate indoors. So he's like, well, fuck it. What you want me to do? what the fuck you want me to do? Was Hogan's position on that, basically, right? Also, by the way, let me shout out AFSCME Council 3. AFSCME Local 3 out of Baltimore. AFSCME is the American Federation of County, State, and Municipal Employees. It is a labor union that represents state workers, okay? AFSCME Council 3 was able to negotiate a new state contract with the Hogan administration in which its members are going to get a 12% bump in salary, which is extremely impressive. And the union was able to negotiate Hogan mandating that masks be worn indoors in state buildings. A lot of the union members of AFSCME were complaining like, fuck you. Like we are public workers. What do you mean people don't have to wear masks when they come into public state buildings? So they were able to secure that victory, even though, again, I hate that the bar is literally in hell, that a very basic public health premise that people should wear masks indoors is something that has to be fought for and won. It's not something that's already implemented and sort of accepted as a common sense practice. So anyway, big up to AFSCME Council 3 for getting that win for its members, state workers, and that win against the Hogan administration for that. But pop up C2 if you could for me, Tunde. So you heard the statistics about COVID in Maryland, 27.44% positivity rate, the highest of the pandemic. Well, Baltimore City, guys. Baltimore City has the third highest COVID case rate in the United States in the last 7 days. Now, I know you guys are like, Kim, we understand. Yes, you live in Maryland, blah, blah, blah. You talk about Maryland all the goddamn time. Maryland this, Maryland that. Hey, man, I got to talk about what I know, y'all. I got to talk about what I know. I want to know about shit where y'all at too, but that's not today's topic. So I said all that to say, highest positivity rate of the pandemic. Baltimore has the third highest in the nation over the past 7 days. So, explain it to me why, y'all. Why? Why is Baltimore City trying to reopen its schools for in-person learning? Schools were set to reopen Monday for in-person learning, right? But the snow, look at God. God said, nay, you will not send these children back into school with the plague. I will have a snow come down and stop everything. Yes, look at Jesus. Won't he do it? But let me tell you who won't do it. The Baltimore City public school system is on some bullshit, okay? Omicron has been raging through city schools, okay? There is not a cohesive plan to reopen given the amount of staff sicknesses that there have been, in addition to kids getting sick, in addition to a lack of contact tracing to be followed up by Baltimore City with the amount of positive cases that Baltimore has. But I want you guys to take a look. This is a video. It's going to be C3 Tunde. This is from an educator in Baltimore City. Her name is Jocelyn Providence, and she tweeted this video about her COVID story. Okay. The Baltimore Teachers Union is up in arms about this. And guys, this is not just a Baltimore thing. Check in the chat if this is happening where you are. This is happening in New York City. Also, where Omicron is raging, but the insistence to make sure that public schools reopen for in-person learning specifically, with very few plans or alternative plans being made for virtual learning or, remote learning. Like, the determination to make sure that the kids go to school is really macabre and disgusting, to say the least. But I want us to hear directly from this Baltimore City educator, Jocelyn Providence. She put this on her Twitter feed about, this is a summary of her COVID story, as she says. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn, and I'm a high school teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools. My entire family was impacted by COVID. My husband, who was a Baltimore City high school English teacher, was informed he tested positive on Tuesday, December 21st. That evening, my 6-month son tested positive for COVID. I was able to test at school because of my administration. One of my administrators covered my class. I was informed the next day, mid-afternoon, that I also tested positive for COVID. For the rest of the week, I received emails from students informing me that they tested positive or that they were caring for family members who tested positive for COVID. The positive test for my husband and I are still, after nearly 2 weeks, not reflected in the Baltimore City COVID dashboard. COVID is spreading out of control in school buildings and in our community. And that's why I demand that Baltimore City Public Schools require a negative test, regardless of vaccination, from students and staff before returning to in-person learning. Poor decisions are being made off of misleading and inaccurate data. We must put the health and safety of our community first. This winter break has been very difficult for my family. My son's first Christmas was spent congested, coughing and wheezing, and being cared by sick parents. We'll never get that back. We can't continue to sacrifice the health and safety of our students, staff, and families. We are not just numbers, we are people, and our health and safety matters. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Please share it, tag our school and city leaders so they can see it too. Most importantly, share your story. We all have been impacted by COVID in different ways. And everyone needs to know that we are people. We are not just numbers. And we shouldn't be sacrificed. Thank you.
We are people. We're not just numbers, and we shouldn't be sacrificed. Powerful and profound words there from Jocelyn, a Baltimore City public school educator, detailing her experience testing positive for COVID. Her whole family has COVID, and Baltimore City schools are expecting a quick return to in-person learning. So let me be clear here, y'all. This is a fluidity kind of story because the city school system is getting a lot of righteous and justifiable pushback, to say the least, about their determination to resume back to in-person learning. So let me just be clear here. You heard what Jocelyn said, that staff and students, there's not a negative test required for in-person learning, for a return to in-person learning. Well, does that sound smart to y'all? No. So let me give y'all some comparisons here, okay? Remember a couple weeks back, I told you guys that where I live in Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, which is again governed by Black folks, as is Baltimore City. So why the huge discrepancy in the amount of common sense leadership? I am not 100% certain. And let me be clear, I don't think that PG County does everything right, but they got this shit right. Before Christmas, Prince George's County schools announced that they're going to be closed until after the Martin Luther King holiday for in-person learning. They announced a return to virtual learning, period, point blank. And that weekend, Governor Larry Hogan got on Fox News. Remember, y'all, I played y'all the clip. Governor Hogan got on Fox News, talked big shit about PG County shutting down schools. I don't think it's the right direction. And then what happened? Omicron has exploded across the state. So actually, PG County looking real good in the light right now, okay? So PG County's closed for in-person learning until after the MLK holiday. Then they're going to reassess. Public schools in Washington, D.C., staff and students are required to produce a negative COVID test in order to go back to school. Mayor Bowser, whom we generally don't like, but she got her shit together on this front. All staff and students and households are being given free tests. And DC public schools are requiring a negative test to return back to school. The next big jurisdiction here in Maryland, Montgomery County, which is extremely affluent, has also expressed a reluctance to go to virtual learning, but they are closing 3 schools because of COVID. And I have a feeling that their mass return to in-person learning is probably going to come. But I wanted to say this real quick, okay? So this piece in the Baltimore Sun, hold on, let me tell you which one that is. Oh, nice. Very lovely, very lovely. Okay, this piece is getting a lot of pushback on social media. Shout out to Lisa McCoy. Y'all follow Lisa on Twitter. Lisa's the shit. Lisa be calling these niggas out from Annapolis to Baltimore to the media, all of them. But anyway, this is written by Post columnist, or the Sun columnist rather, Liz Bowie. Headline reads, Maryland education leaders vow to keep schools open despite rapidly rising number of COVID-19 cases. This piece was published yesterday, guys, yesterday. So in the face of record high positivity, the highest throughout the pandemic, record high hospitalizations throughout hospitals in the state of Maryland. Let me read directly from the piece here, guys. Quote, Maryland school leaders appear determined to keep schools open through a surge of cases and the Omicron variant of the coronavirus after many other students contracted and endured one of the longest shutdowns of any state in the nation during the pandemic. Okay, nigga, hold on. Let me scroll down because it does get ridiculous. So here is a quote from the Maryland State Superintendent of Schools, Mohammed Chaudhry. Said, quote, schools need to stay open. I said it earlier in the week. It is not going to change, okay? By the way, the Maryland State Superintendent of Schools has the full backing of the governor, who fully agrees that schools should remain open, despite the conditions, again, being worse in terms of positivity, infections, and hospitalizations than they were a year ago. And I guess the rationale is that there are vaccines, there's vaccinations now. That's the game changer. Is it though? Because when you have students who are in a very high level of COVID positivity in a in-person learning setting, the kids are likely to catch COVID. And this is the shit that fucks me up. Like, so school administrators and the governor and public health officials and the CDC and Dr. Fauci. It's like, okay, so y'all don't care about the kids. You think the kids are going to be okay going back to school. So you really don't give a fuck about the potential immunocompromised or people who are dealing with chronic illness, adults who could live in the same households as these children. And the framing of Omicron as being a milder variant, I think, is extremely dangerous, because what is mild for one person could kill somebody else. And when we talk about a quote unquote mild COVID infection, well, a lot of the people who are dealing with long COVID symptoms, which to some estimates are 30% of all COVID positive cases, end up being long haul COVID. Y'all, these are inflammatory. This is a virus. Y'all know how viruses work. A virus don't necessarily leave your body. The virus just posts up someplace and chill. Shout out to all my Gen X people who are old enough to know what it's like to stay home with the chicken pops. And yes, I said chicken pops. If y'all had the chicken pops, guess what? We probably gonna get the shingles real soon. Why? Because the chicken pox don't leave your body. Why? Because it's a virus. And if COVID is also a virus, it doesn't necessarily leave you. You might eventually test negative for it, but that don't mean that you ain't got it no more, right? It means that we still have a lot of unknowns about this virus, okay? And for us to so very callously sacrifice and offer up our children and our teachers as guinea pigs just for the sake of making sure that the capital stays open, that the business stays open, that the economy keeps economizing. Like, at what level of sickness are we going to continue to operate at, right? And how is it that teachers, as you just heard that eloquent description there from the educator Jocelyn describe, they're not expendable. These are our professionals, people that we trust with the education of our children. Like, you can't just throw them out there, but we are throwing them out there. We're throwing them out there. We're throwing our nurses out there. We're throwing our doctors out there. We're throwing our line cooks out there. We are throwing a lot of essential people to the fucking wolves, the wolf of Omicron, right? And it's incumbent upon us to say no. Like, this is where this ends. The ridiculosity of having to pretend that we're not dealing with a deadly plague, that we're not dealing with a pandemic, that we're not dealing with something that has killed 1 million people in less than 2 years and has infected 56 million in this country alone. Do you understand, all of our international viewers, why I be begging y'all to please come get us? Just send a boat right up the Potomac. We will be out there with flashlights and little white flags. Like, here we are. Please come pick us up. We live in the dumbest fucking country on earth who thinks it's the smartest nigga in the room. And those are the worst people in the world. The dummies who think they are brilliant geniuses and insist on doing everything wrong. And the fucked up part is they're the ones with all the power and the control to do it. So the state continues to fail us nationally, locally. It fails us in infrastructure. It fails us in climate policies and addressing climate catastrophes. It fails us in public health. It fails us in public education. It fails us. It fails us. It fails us. And at some point, the onus becomes on us to say, ça suffit. That's it. That's enough. That's total. That's it. That's it. That's it. What Molly saying? Oh, Molly also said, by the way, because you guys know Molly is in Berlin, which, by the way, I would not be comfortable in Berlin, but I can appreciate Molly being over there to be camouflaged in Berlin. That is what's happening. Molly said that her kid gets a test every single day in school. Well, that sounds like a nation that is concerned about the health of its youths, and is going to take steps to make sure that the resources are there to be provided. And by the way, guys, don't y'all remember at the end of last year, Joe Biden, after being bullied, justifiably, his administration that is, into providing tests for every single American, promised that there would be 500 million tests, at-home tests made available for every single American. Where that's at? Where that's at? Y'all got y'all test? Who got their test in the mail? Raise your hand. I don't see any hands. I see no hands up in the chat. I take it you did not get your free COVID test from Joseph Robinette Biden. Now, why is it? Is it because Joe Biden is a lying sack of shit? Yes. That is one of the reasons. And it might be the top reason. So anyway, guys, anyway, if you're from out of state or out of the country, please come rescue us. Please and thank you. Signed, your American cousins in bondage. Yes, please get us out of here. We live in the dumbest country in the world. So yeah. Yes. No, Robinette is not even sending out any N95 masks. Courtney, imagine. I just want you guys to imagine. Listen, when you file your taxes in April, even though I think we should actually try to strategize and organize to not file our taxes, but let's say in theory, okay, let's say we are all law-abiding citizens allegedly, and let's say we all file our taxes. Imagine the federal government sending you a bill. like, what are you gonna do if the federal government says you owe us $700? I'm gonna write them a check to say, nigga, please send that bitch back. Signed, Kimberly Brown. Nigga, please. You want me to let me? I know my phone, but you got that head. Anyway, I have held Tunde hostage long enough, and Molly too. So, guys, let's call the show. Oh, heads up. Guess what? Jared sent me the link, everybody. Jared sent me the link. So I'll see y'all tomorrow morning on the Remix Morning Show at 8 a.m. Eastern Time over there on Black Power Media. A good time is going to be had by all. I'm looking forward to rejoining my comrades. Can't wait to talk to Sister Jackie. Hope Sister Jackie's on the show tomorrow. Of course, Gerard Kalonji, Kamal, Ear Doctor, a wonderful crew over there at BPM. And shout out to Brother Balagoon. I think Brother Balagoon has been spotted in the chat recently. So shout out to Brother Balagoon and the whole Warrior class and everybody that is over there at BPM doing their thing. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for that, for the Remix Morning Show, because Jared sent me the link. Yes, sir. So I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. On behalf of me, Tunde, and Molly, thank you all so much for checking out Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Please don't forget that COVID is still out here jumping on people. So please, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, and just be smart. Just be smart out here, y'all. We are not out of this. The plague is still very much plaguing. The pandemic is still very much pandemic. So we will see you guys back here on the